Hello, friends. Scott Lanningham back with you for another SL Radio. Excited tonight to have a couple of Austin musical titans with me, Brannen Temple and Red Young. Whoever doesn't know these cats is about to meet them. We're hearing a little bit of them playing in the background. What is this, Brannen? This is called Sweating the Onions. Who is this? Who are you playing with?
Adam Levy and Buttermilk Jr. That's Red Young on the Hammond, and Adam Levy on the guitar, and myself on the drums.
I'm digging it. Let's just hear a few more minutes of it, and then we'll bring it down and start talking here.
Well, you got to check the end out, though.
Okay, let's let it play then. Let's dig on it. Are you guys not hearing anything?
No.
Oh.
Now I can.
Oh, it tried to mute me. I am so sorry. The software, I had to uncheck the auto gating thing. It was horrible. Excuse me. I'm digging it and you all weren't hearing anything. Oh, that's not fair.
It looked like you were.
We're in time for the ending. Take this out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I should back it up and play everything everybody missed. I can't believe I'm sitting here. Could you see me? I was just digging on it, and you guys were too polite. You know, I saw Red lean in a little bit, and you should have just been waving, saying.
I sent Red a text.
Next time, just call my telephone, or or write something on a piece of paper and holding it on the screen. If anything like that happens again, don't hesitate to just shout. You know.
All right. Okay.
So how you guys been, man?
Yeah, it's been a lot of things.
I've been chilling, man.
Where are you, Red?
Yeah. I'm in Mobile right now, but I was on Austin up until about 3 days ago, and I did a bunch of online shows. There were about 7 of them. There was 2 of them with me and Brannen.
Yeah,
one
great
with
stuff.
Andre, one with Mike.
I think we're going to show a little bit of some of that too, right? You turned me on to the.
I learned a lot, and we can do it now. What do we want to do? You know.
Mm-hmm.
I had to take a break.
Where are you, Brannen? Are you at home?
In Brannen. What's Brannen?
Yeah, home. You know, I wanted to kind of get out, but you know, I'm gonna be good like you should with Corona.
Oh yeah.
And really just be mindful. You know, I thought that at one point I was going to try to load the family up and go somewhere, but you know, with Texas being the hot spot, it just seemed a little selfish on my part to take my family, you know, somewhere and then go to a house of relatives and be like, hey, have some Texas tea, you know, some Texas. Texas Corona. So I didn't want to personally do that with the kiddos, but I'm just contented here. I really miss music, like playing music with the multitude of talent that I was able to do so with in the past year. And of course, we've all had everything be canceled, so and or postponed until 2021, 2022, even with certain things.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just kind of just taking it all in right now, and taking the time to just kind of re-educate myself with other things that are, when you're busy, you don't have as much time to read or to think.
Mm.
Hmm.
Even, and I really find that at this time it's good to be doing less. It makes me think that we weren't meant to be doing as many things as we're doing, because the quality of life just doesn't feel the same. I actually feel like I'm living better in some ways, by doing less. Less is more.
Less mental noise, right? A little more room in between the thoughts to actually ponder what you're doing and thinking, right?
Yeah, yeah, and that, and just become a little bit more inclined, uh, just perception with other people, with other things, with other details, and spirituality, any number of things that can just help one's person, one's brain, one's heart.
Yeah.
So this time has been good for me, and personally, it's been really good.
Red, are you doing any of that healthy kind of stuff too, or are you just
Oh,
going
sure.
nuts over there?
Well, I've been home since February. I don't think I really left the house for any length of time, but I mean, I stayed busy around the house. Uh, I've got a studio out behind the house, and I've got a live room on the inside of the house. Every time I pass these bushes that needed trimming and the lawn that needed mowing, that was my healthy exercise. You know,
Yeah.
getting physical that way. Uh, but yeah, getting a lot of rest. I mean, the main last year I drove 27,000 miles to gigs, in Canada and wherever, and you get
Mm.
on a schedule like that, you don't have time to think. By the time you get home, you're catching up on something and trying to put something together for the next thing. So right when everything started canceling, it was like, at first it was, what are we going to do? And then it was like, oh God, great. I've discovered songs that I thought I forgot I wrote 30 or 40 years ago, and
Yeah.
just connection. I mean, what I'm finding more than anything, when we were real busy, everybody was text messaging everybody. Now I'm finding people talking more on the phone. You're missing voices, you're missing the persons, even though we're not with each other, So that's what
That's
I've
got
been
to
up
be
to.
one of the,
Mm.
what you said, Brannen, rings so true in terms of sometimes very difficult situations pause us to make us take pause and consider a lot of things. And I know that um, there's a lot of not just the coronavirus, but with what's been happening in the social world and the protests and everything that's going on. So a lot of ugliness being uncovered, but a lot of people
Huh.
doing a lot of soul searching. This has got to be one of the most remarkable things. It's certainly got to be the most remarkable time I can remember in my lifetime.
Right.
As the body of the nation, you might say. And it's actually bigger than that. In this case, it's global on some level. But out of all that, um, I there's something that I read someone, I'm trying to remember who said it, what philosopher, but something along the lines of optimism is the greatest moral courage of all. And if there's
Mm.
a way to find
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of a lot of pain and suffering, some of it victimless, or not victimless, but some of it where people are innocent victims, and some of it where people are bringing it upon themselves. Those that are bearing the brunt of of the protests are getting it for a reason. Those of us that are having to dig deeper and learn more about what this country and what all the people truly mean to us, and do a lot of soul searching. You know, I'm appreciating all of that, but I'm also thinking about, you know, as we think about coming out of this, what is it going to mean in terms of not only what we've been able to protect and salvage, but what new opportunities lie in front of us. The world is changing a lot right now, and I think it's going to impact a lot of things. And music and how we work and how you guys work every day and where you go and what you do as musicians is going to be a big part of how it changes, I think.
I tend to agree. I mean, I don't think there's going to be anything that is back to normal. I mean, if that happens and things go quote unquote back to normal, I think I'm going to move to Cairo.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think I'm going to be able to take it. You know, the lid has been blown off, and the problem is none of this is new. You know, and it just takes a certain amount of you know, truth and integrity to be able to face what's happening and to know what's been happening and to do something about it. You know, it is a global issue. It's not just a black issue or whatever, you know, but, you know, people of all ages can always learn new things and should do their best to try to feel how the next man, how the next woman, how the next human is feeling, and put themselves in that position and see how they feel about it when the shoe is on the other foot. You know.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen to that. And you know, it's easy. I realize that it's easy to say that. It's easy to go amen. It's easy to put up a sticker on your Facebook profile. It's easy to do things like that. It's the next steps after that where the rubber really meets the road, right? And I think a lot of people, I know I'm among them, are looking for really trying to open my mind and heart up and find ways to be not just a token supporter of change, but an actual true participant in that change, you know.
Absolutely. You would hope that more people would feel this and would demand these ideas to be put forth. You know, really, it starts with attitudes, but it doesn't end there. You know, it's like you're saying, you can put up a sign in your yard, but what does that really mean? You know, it's like this has to permeate legislation. This has to permeate, you know, all of the industries and anything that you can think to make things equal and balanced. There's still people in prison for a damn ounce of weed. You know what I mean? And it's like this weed is legal in a few states in the country, but you still have people that are serving for minor minor situations. So you kind of have to rethink everything and take that into consideration and really, you know, what were the political moves that caused certain people to think, we are missing out, we are losing out. My money is kind of dwindling down with more black people getting this, or with more illegal aliens getting this or getting that. It's like, well, the more you sort of like separate yourselves from other people, the more we're in this situation. And it's like, well, we didn't get here by accident. This has all been designed.
Yep.
You know, so, you know, if people are really compassionate, you know, people have really been living a long time with that heavy burden and not really thinking, it doesn't really make a difference. I'm good. And it's not even that a lot of people are rich, you know.
Yeah.
It's not like people are living high on the hog, as my mom used to say, you know, but it's just a way of life, or a way of thinking that has to be addressed.
I think that's truth. Red, do you think that the kind of collective suffering everybody's going through with the economic shutdown, with the way the pandemic has just basically changed everyone's lives to such an extent, do you think that's the kind of wake-up call that's gonna?
No, I think what I think is that everybody is finally realizing what's been going on everywhere in the world. I mean, I grew up in the South, okay, with the segregation and everything. So I knew a lot of stories. I lived through it. But when I've had a lot of chance to actually go back and look at the history, even though, the people I've worked with have told me a lot of stories, and I've lived through a lot of stories. The economic thing, the most disheartening thing about it is that since probably since Brannen was born, all of a sudden that's when all the economic stuff started changing so much. Started getting more people in there that had more money. They would buy the politicians that would go in, that would pass the laws where the money, instead of going to the people it should go to more evenly,
Mm-hmm.
it's all up at the top now. But I mean, even before then, I've been I didn't know a lot about the Reconstruction after the Civil War, and there were economic opportunities and more even politicians that were in, from that little period from like 65 to uh, 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 1880, and then all of a sudden the guys, the white guys in the South got more power again, and they just shut everything down. So the people that actually, I mean, there was actually a good economy for it, like Wilmington, South Carolina, and
Yep.
all that stuff. There was a lot of stuff that was going on, that the economy was growing for people of color.
There was a
We
lot right
weren't
here
called.
in Texas, a lot right here in Austin.
It was a big riot. I mean, it was like that was a big seaport where those guys were.
Oh, Red, I hope we didn't lose him again. His
I'm
internet's
sorry,
a little rough. Oh, there
my
you are.
camera
There you
keeps
are.
going out.
Well, you're down there in Alabama, right?
The internet here is kind
Yeah.
of not so good. But
And
just the realization of what's been over that length of time, people are becoming more aware of it, and instead of the people that were hanging on to the generational thing with the old South, and then the generations after that. I mean, even my grandfather was born in the 1880s. I mean, you get people like that still remember those things. You had to wait for the old people to die off that weren't there. So now we got the young people that are coming into it with um, a new attitude and a new understanding.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's been a lot of changes, and we're all connected, and we're all learning. We're all watching at the same time. It's instant cameras.
Yeah.
I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of the brutality that's going on right now, you see it right away.
Yeah.
Oh no, that was just a story. No, it wasn't. Here it is, and it's coming from several different angles, and it happened a lot. But because most people were distracted with trying to find work, and they didn't have time to sit down and watch TV. And now you're watching TV, and all these things that are going on. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I guess it is happening. Yes, it is. It's been going on for a long time.
Well, there's a whole lot of things being considered that we
Yeah.
never thought in our lifetime would really truly come up for discussion publicly, right? Things like
No,
monuments
and
and
I'm real glad they did.
and a lot of things. Some of them that are more superficial, but they have powerful influence on the public psyche, and then other things that are a lot more real in terms of their present impact to people, like how the police behave. Like
Right.
you said, everything around covenants and neighborhoods and all of
Yeah.
that
I
stuff,
mean,
right?
we knew about that, but it's got to go. When the guy shows up with military equipment,
Yeah.
for a traffic stop, I mean, come on, man.
Hmm.
That is ridiculous.
Where do
You
you
know,
where do you
Yeah,
guys
but now we're seeing it.
go ahead, Brandon?
no, I was just gonna say you have to understand that white supremacy is really simple. It's boiled down to bullying,
Right.
weaponry,
Yeah.
and lies. And then just, of course, just all based on color, all based on these really. I mean, there are truths that there are differences, but the fact that they need to be subjectified in the way that they are, this is when we have the issues. And again, if you
Right.
take away the idea of incarceration, or the idea of some sort of judicial admonishment, the playing field could be even really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
when things are man to man, and I'm not necessarily speaking about violence, but slavery was violence.
Right.
Incarceration is violence. A mild traffic stop is violent. For me, when I see
Right.
that red and blue, it doesn't matter how much money I have in the bank account. You know, that's a scary situation for me. Which where it might not be scary for you guys. It might be like, well, okay, just make sure you
That's scary for
get.
me too, man.
Well, I
You
tell
know,
you, you know what it is
anybody that's
Brandon.
poor.
It's I've never experienced the kind of fear you're talking about.
Mm,
But anybody that has an ounce of compassion in their body can't
Right.
witness what has been done to people of color by police and not think, could that boil over to me?
have you?
If they're not
Let me
that
let me let me
sensitive,
let
then
me
they've
ask
got
you this.
issues.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever bought a car and had to consider the idea that, okay, I better make sure that this
No.
car doesn't have things that would set off a cop? Like, okay, maybe my window shouldn't be so tinted. Maybe the rim shouldn't be so flashy. Maybe the
Yeah.
car shouldn't be so flashy. When I've had kids, that was actually a good thing because I
But
could get
some
a
of it,
car that had car seats and no tinted windows so that I could drive around and feel safe. Now,
Hmm.
just wear that on for, think about that. My son's 13. So I've been having this conversation in my head all that time. And prior to that, you know,
Yeah.
maybe I shouldn't, I kind of like cool cars and stuff. And saying, oh, maybe I shouldn't get the windows tinted so dark just because I don't want hassle. In fact, I used to drive my mom's Impala around and it had really dark windows and I used to get profiled. I got stopped more in that car in East Austin at any other time of my driving record, my driving history.
That's ridiculous. I mean,
It's
that there's
it's
no
ridiculous.
equivalent. There's no
Yeah.
equivalent for a white man. I mean, the only thing in white culture, let's call it that, if we're going to call it something, the only thing that parallels that in any form is that classic, joke of don't buy a red sports car because that might mean you get pulled over for a ticket just because it's red. But short of that, there is no equivalent to what you're
Or high
talking
or
about.
higher or higher insurance. But
Yeah,
we can
yeah,
go on and on about
yeah,
those types of things. But
yeah.
if we want to talk about music, the one thing that I'd like to sort of help create an understanding is like this is the supposed live music capital of the world, right?
Yeah.
So I said this before in another podcast, and I'll say it here. It is that my mentors who were teachers here in Austin all told me that in the 40s and 50s, the music, there was no music scene. There were chillin' circuit clubs on the east side of town because by about 1940, redlining in Austin was like pretty much in full effect. So you had clubs, all up and down 11th and 12th Street, and those were places where the greats played. Anywhere from Count Basie to Joe Tex to Sarah Vaughan to any named and no named, so to speak, non-popular artists that were making quote unquote race records. All those people were playing there. Ike and Tina Turner, James Brown, just you name it. And
Man.
so at a certain point in the 50s, the white students at UT were coming across to hear that music. And and even people like Clifford Antone and these types were taking that back to, you know, their own circles. And without a doubt, this is what created the idea uh, of scene, a music scene. So now you have capital, now you have clubs, now you have a reason for people to go out and not have to travel across what would become I-35, right? And but this is happening all over the country. You're getting people going to check out Mississippi Delta, people going to check out what's happening in Harlem, what's going on, and these are all black people, black musicians playing their music from the heart, and it eventually led into sort of a separation of what was rock. Well, who created rock? You know,
Right.
that music came from the field. It didn't come from the church.
That's right. Yeah.
It went to the church and it went to the juke joint, but it came from the field. Where did those field people come from?
Exactly.
So everything that is music currently, whether it's jazz, pop, whatever, in this country, came from the fields.
Right.
Period.
Rock,
And
funk, everything, blues, yeah,
everything.
even a lot of influence into country music,
All of
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
and it just sort of became this, categorized and sort of separate and separated when you could sort of feel, well, how can we monetize this and placate to the societal standards that were set by those in power, And that's where you had, exodus in the 50s of people moving outside of the inner city to leave that for the blacks and have the whites in suburbs, And so music, whitewashing, all these things happen, take that all the way up into the 70s, the 80s, past civil rights in the 60s, 70s, 80s. Into the 80s, we're now dealing with the moniker of the live music capital of the world, right? Which you take that into the 2000s, well, the tech industry, all of that's built on the live music capital of the world, which is all built on East Austin black community.
Right.
So if you ask me, you would have no tech industry without the East Austin black musicians, because everything started with that hipness.
Yeah. That brilliant series in the New York Times. What was the title of it? 1619 or something like that. That essay series.
I don't know. I didn't.
It's really something, and it makes a very, very. It's a big series of essays, but it makes a very, very powerful case. I've only read some of it. I want to read the rest of it because it's pretty sweeping and pretty amazing to read. But it makes a pretty powerful case that the United States wouldn't look anything like it does without the contributions you're talking about.
Right.
It absolutely wouldn't. And that I think a lot of people get hung up on well, we can't undo what happened. And it's like, well, you can't change.
Yeah, you can.
You may not be able to go back and change history, but you can certainly change the legacy of that in the present, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that comes through, education, that comes through compassion, and truly that comes through reparation, that comes through repair,
Right.
And making things, distributing the wealth, redistributing the wealth. And it doesn't mean that anybody currently is going to have to miss out. If they have the money to pay out with all of these, stimulus packages or whatever, all these different things, man, there's so much money. There's so much money,
Yeah. The amount that was spent at the beginning of the pandemic was.
Yeah.
We should, I know, I certainly don't want to steer away from anything that we're talking about, but I know that people love the music you guys make, and we certainly want to play some more of it. And then we can just keep talking about how any of this intersects with the music, or any part of it that you want,
Absolutely. Red Young is a bad mo. So we need to hear some Red Young.
Red, we got to get you a new internet connection, man.
Can you hear us, Red?
I'm in Mobile. I have Google Fiber at the house, which was developed in California.
Well, why didn't you just bring a long extension cord from Austin to Mobile?
Because I'm in Mobile. I'm in the deep south. What you're talking about?
Yeah.
What do you guys?
With what I'm talking about, the deep south is probably like editing, the Red's internet.
Right, they're censoring Red. What do you guys want to? What should we roll next? You want to roll a little video? You guys doing the stuff from your piano hour? Want to do some of that?
Red, you choose.
Red. What do you want to play next, brother?
I think this thing keeps dropping out, so I'm not sure. Just play what you want to do.
Let's do this, man.
Brandon, drive
maybe
it.
2 minutes.
Let's start.
So I'm probably just gonna go ahead and check out.
Nah, don't check out. We want to see your face. Let's check. Let's do this. There's a beautiful
picture of me up there.
There's a beautiful Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers tune that we do that was written by Benny Golson, and I was so thankful that Red is like a wellspring. He's like a library, with the amount of knowledge that he has in terms of music. So I asked him if he knew it one day, and he was like, "Oh, you mean this one?" and so we've been playing it ever since. And I think our rendition on this particular one.
Well, that's because I play with music from all over the place. There was a number of years where I didn't even play with any white musicians. Maybe some people know that, maybe you don't know that. But I grew up, I'm very aware of everything that's going on.
Which tune are we talking about, guys? Do I have it?
Play Benny Golson.
Benny Golson, Along Came Betty.
Along Came Betty.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I've got that one.
Betty.
Okay, so let me bring that up. I know we've got. Let me see if we got the screen share happening. Yeah. Okay.
I can't.
Can you see that, Red? Can you see it? Let's make sure we can hear it.
Well, I saw it when I edited it.
That's beautiful, man.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry about Red. Red's having issues with his internet.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
probably just where he is.
I told him we should when he gets back home with his Google Fiber, we'll have to do another one.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit, Brannen, about this symbiotic thing you and Red have, man? I mean, I know there's something that comes with playing together a lot, and I'm sure that's a big part of it, but you guys really do have a connection in all the different settings people have heard you play in this town and beyond, and Black Red Black, and then the duet stuff you're doing now. And it's talk about that experience a little bit.
Well, what's amazing is, when Red and I first met out in Los Angeles, we were doing a Stephen Bruton record, and we did a show. I can't remember where that was, somewhere out there, and I saw him wheel this organ in, and I hadn't really seen that outside of like the people I was working with in this area. I always knew that James Polk played. And I, in fact, had a 45 that I still have of James Polk and his men. And Martin Banks is on there. And it's like something from 1972, I think, 74, something like that. I still have a 45 of it. But anyway, there were a few other people. My buddy, James Simpson, who's out in Germany right now. He's been out there for the past several years. But there just weren't a lot of people that were wheeling an organ around anywhere that I could see. And it wasn't really until I saw Red do that, and I was just like, I immediately kind of like, okay, this cat is a bad dude,
Indeed.
And he pulled it into the club, loaded, unloaded. We helped. Maybe he did it himself, but I seem to remember being around the organ and just being in awe of that. And he said he was going to move to Austin eventually. We got to talking, and he came and did a gig. And I remember Ephraim kind of trying to figure out who could play a show. As Ephraim can kind of call around like the day of the gig. Hey man, can you available? And he called me, and I said, yeah, I got a guy, man, Red Young. And he said, okay, what's he do? I said he plays organ. He said, oh, keys? Okay, so who do we get to play bass? I said, no.
He does it all.
Yeah, he plays an organ, like an actual organ. So the concept was kind of foreign to Ephraim, at least at that particular time, at least locally, And we almost kind of made it happen immediately, like that symbiotic feeling. It was strange because it worked, and then it was dangerous all at the same time. Dangerous meaning that this shit could fall apart at any minute. Because it's like a flock of seagulls. It's like a school of fish. It's like for him, I could go in any direction and he's got to follow that. But for me, he's controlling the chords and the bass. So he goes up and down, left and right. It's like all the thoughts are inside of him, even though he's listening to me, And so it doesn't hurt that a musician like Red is just like very accomplished and has like a large, like I say, just like a library of tunes, things that he can pull from. So it doesn't feel stale. It doesn't get old. It's just kind of always a joy. So I have such an adventurous, like nature behind the drums. Mm-hmm. So it just sort of matched. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
I was gonna say that. how you describe Red is so accurate. He's such his knowledge is so broad. It's stylistically and everything. He's so capable of playing so many things.
Yeah,
but you two together. I mean, to me, there's so many great drummers. We know many in this town alone, right, and then beyond. But there's something about you. I've felt like fearlessness was a big part of what you did that appealed so much to me. Is you had this ability to in improvisation and just in your playing as a whole, a fearlessness. And there aren't a lot of players that do that, and it's tough to get there. And I'm sure there are many things that you might point to that has informed how you've become that kind of a player. I mean, you're certainly a extremely technically proficient player, but there's something about the way you play. And I remember hearing you when I first moved back to town in the late 90s. Not long after that, I heard you with Hot Buttered Rhythm, and then I heard you with Blaze, and I heard you in some of these other settings, right?
I think you're frozen.
Oh, am I? Oh,
yeah.
But my mouth is still working, apparently, right?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
So the, my camera just totally went away. Well, that's nice. Well, I'll turn it back on again. It'll come back.
There we go.
But that was something about your playing that so stood out to me. There's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of great players in town, but you stand out so much in that way and as a trailblazer, and it takes a lot of courage to do that. And I think the marriage of you with Red's, palette of capability is something truly special in that way.
Yeah, I don't, Red, like myself, it's just not a lot that we shy away from,
Yeah.
Me personally, I grew up with a lot of styles of music. My dad being from, primarily from New York, so he just knew a lot about a lot of things, a lot of musical things. It wasn't.
I don't know anything about your dad. You said he grew up in New York.
Yeah, well, he was born in Georgia, and his dad was actually, in the 30s, gonna be lynched for accidentally allegedly, let me say, killing a man's mule when he was working. So they were gonna go back and try to, bite the apple before it bit them. They were gonna try to do in this guy who said was gonna kill my granddad. But some sense got talked to him and was like, look, you're a black man in the South, you're not gonna make it,
Mm-hmm.
So he and his brother went up and left the families. They left both of their families and moved to Jersey, and ended up in New York, eventually bringing their family. So my dad went from Georgia to New York, grew up there, and was extremely athletic, and had some opportunities to to come down here and play some sports, and did that on a sports scholarship, and ended up of course meeting my mother. But he was a jock, he was not a musician, but all of that, if you think about the time period, the early 50s, late 40s, that's the epicenter of Cuban music and jazz and soul music coming together in New York. So he's seeing that real time with Machito and all the offshoots from Joe Cuba to Mongo Santa Maria and Tito Puente and of course all the soul and all the funk and all the jazz and everything that was happening at that time. Like my uncle, his younger brother, my Uncle Henry, knew Philly Joe and Jackie McLean and a lot of the cats that were swinging like during the 50s. Like my Uncle Henry hung with them. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So I have a very musical family, even if a lot of the people don't play music. All of my family, especially in New York, was like very musically inclined in a way, as are a lot of other family members. My sisters and various people in the family played music. And so I got a lot of things, a lot of influence came very honestly, and community influence. Red the same way. He was talking about, he just sent a text, and I'm going to read that online.
Yeah.
He was like, I do think music is, and put my glasses on, I'm getting it. Before I start messing this up. Okay, little readers. I do think music is shared by all of us, by the way, all cultures, all races, all genders. And I've been through a lot starting in the 50s. I know we can't go back and change everything, but we have to move forward. It's what I've tried to do my whole life. So when you get a person like Red Young, who was at the epicenter of even the stuff I was talking about, where like all your biggest heroes are the musicians of the day, the musicians of the 50s, and all of those were like the black musicians.
Mm-hmm.
So Red got his training. I don't want to speak for him, but these are some mild conversations that we had where like he was playing in all black bands and utilizing his gifts, and those people at that time were utilizing their generosity and their gifts to take him in and go, hey man, you want to hang with us? All right, we got you. Come on in. So that's a wonderful thing, and that's what I think is needed more so outside of the musical community, and just that love shared between humans, where you can get out of stereotypical thoughts. So I don't know, going back to just that adventurous spirit, I just want to take it back to just again that takes love. It takes humility, it takes love, takes a little ego, as well as being humble. It's a fine line, because you have to be able to stay in the moment and find how that moment is speaking to you, how it's speaking to me.
Yeah.
And when that happens, then I can respond, and I do that. And I try to do that also with love. I try to do that with my ears, with my whole being, my spiritual being, my physical being, and always being in the moment to serve the music. So when Red and I are playing, and there's just the two of us, oftentimes I'm not trying to get mine in. I'm just trying to make sure we holding it together, so he can express himself, and he can do everything he can do to express himself and to give to the people, give his heart. You know what I mean? So then when it's time for me, then I can open it up a little bit, and he'll hold it down for me. So it's just that a relationship that is about sharing, giving, and the best musicians are in tune to that.
And I love the way you describe the combination of qualities that are a part of that. That kind of perspective on sharing. You say a little bit of ego, but humility and balance. And the love, all of that stuff. I got to give you props, really, both you and Red. That I feel like I've learned a lot from the two of you over the last decade or so in the Austin music scene. I think that depending on, we could get back into the whole discussion we were having earlier along race lines, but when I think it's so much easier for a young white man growing up in under the umbrella of white privilege to not develop the kind of courage that you're talking about. That balanced thing, and sometimes being allowing yourself to be afraid, and how that can handicap you as an artist. It handicap you in anything. But sure. I know that for me, watching you play, and also getting to know you as a man, and how much I love you as a person, both of you guys. And then playing with Red as well. I've come to appreciate that courage in a way that I didn't have for a lot of years, and learning just a little something about it has really changed my experience as a musician over the last decade. I've gotten to be involved in some things and play with some people that I wouldn't have and didn't get to before, and I think a lot of it had to do with of kind of a silly self-consciousness and a fear and just a number of little things, little undercurrents that you might, if you really want to get down to the psychology of them, you might connect them to entitlement. You know, I mean, I think. Not that I'm trying to make this about some kind of giant Scott, psycho expose, but I think we're living in a time when the courage of people to be able to talk openly about what they're learning about themselves is very valuable,
Right.
And I've thought about that because not being able to have what we are used to having in this town around music, it starts to lay bare just how important it is to why we even want to be here, why we enjoy this experience in this city. And it's made me realize that this music experience with people like you and Red and so many of the great players in town and people that are strong individuals in their artistic statement, that's a very vital part of the culture and the heart of a city and a community, I think. I mean, you think I'm overplaying that at all to say that when you try to take that out of a culture in a town, you can really kind of expose a lot of weaknesses that maybe are getting not covered up, but are being in some ways softened when you have that universal language and that the kind of example you guys are talking about.
All right. Well, what's really strange is again, like I said at the beginning of this, this whole shutdown kind of causes you to have to get back to basics, right? How many musicians have gotten back into the shed, right? And just started working back on like basic stuff, right? Okay, so you can take that to the individual, you can take that to the scene even, because at a certain point, I felt like the scene was just a cartoon. And it was trying to figure itself out, but it was sort of just clowning itself. It's like, how are only just a few ideas prevalent when you have so much talent across the board and so many different ways to present that music, but yet you're only hearing about a splash of this and a splash of that and a splash of this. So I feel like, it seemed like musicians that weren't social media savvy were getting left behind. But really what it turned into was those that weren't necessarily like, I'm not going to discredit any of their talents, but it's like the squeaky wheel getting the oil, so to speak, but it doesn't mean that other talent is not near them. I just feel like somehow with all that we were having to do as a city, as a community, as a culture, as a nation for productivity and making things happen and having to move forward and having to do this and do that. Oh, I got to keep up with this and keep up. Like you miss out on simple.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the most simple thing is just is happiness. Well, if everybody ain't happy, then how can anybody be happy? I think more people are getting to a point where, they've taken it back down a notch. You're going back into yourself, and if you can find that happiness, then that permeates to the next person, and that it's just energy. It's all we are. That's all this is. That's all the music is. Music is that love expression, that energetic love expression. And so I'm thankful to just be a part of that. I'm thankful to have the soul that I have and the spirit that I have and the generosity that I have. I'm so encouraging of the next cat all the time. All the time. There's very little temple hate. I don't really function that way. I see young guys struggling in their minds and in their hearts with how to get to the next level of what it is they think they should be doing. And it's like, man, just be true. Just be true and you'll get there. You don't have to have 1 million hits on your Instagram. or like your social media platform game, doesn't have to be hot. You know what I mean? And it's like, again, we're getting back to the basics of just love and
Yeah.
understanding and your craft, studying and just doing the work, putting in the work, and then being open to the creative force, right? And being open to going out to see people. When I go see you, you got to understand. First of all, I think I've told you this before, but like you're like the mixtape hero, for me, because when I was a kid and I was starting to play, most of my early gigs were on the east side, right? And so then I started playing gigs, through Joe Morales,
Yeah.
John Mills, Mitch Watkins,
Mitch. Yeah. Yeah.
various, Mike Mordecai. A lot of people were very instrumental. Tina Marsh, what I mean, were very instrumental on the west side of 35 with saying, well, let's give Young Temp a try, and and having to learn some things, hey, let's play this song. So I get a cassette, and I'd be like, man, who's playing drums? And it'd be you. So I was like, okay. I was like, wow. So this cat has set a standard for for me to have to attain, So, uh, but again, I just had a lot of confidence. I had a lot of people in my early days. Walter Shaw was one of my early teachers. T.W. Kenshin,
Hmm.
Beulah Agnes, Dr. Beulah Agnes Curry Jones was one of my teachers. She really, was encouraging. Deshaun Boyd. I just had a lot of people in my early mentoring that were like, yeah, go ahead, you got it,
Yeah.
and I learned from their encouragement how to be encouraging and how not to be just. It's good to have fear, right? We have to use that fear as sometimes to catapult us to do things that we would not normally do.
Yeah.
So I could listen to Scott Lanningham on the drums and go, damn, can I do that little thing he just did? And so I have to sit with that and like, well, let me rewind that and just like, okay, wow, what a concept. And have to like take it and use it for my own. You know what I mean? Like take that language
Yeah.
and be able to redistribute that at a point in time, in real time, not as a mechanical technique, but as a way to communicate in real time with the musicians that I'm working with.
Yeah.
So listening to you and your badassery was not paint. It was never paint by numbers, but it was always like, how can I utilize what
Yeah.
I just learned and put that out into the atmosphere as energy, as language, as a way to catapult the band from here to here to here, you know.
Yeah.
And so I've always been on that, and I feel like Red is the same way. Like the way Red plays, like when we're doing our thing together, it's hard to wipe the smile off his face. You know what I mean? And why
I
would you?
know.
He's just,
Exactly.
you know, Red is somebody that comes to the table with confidence, and he also comes to the table with love and joy. You know what I'm saying? So all the things that I've just explained about myself, and then you put that together with him,
Yeah.
so we've sort of stepped into something.
Well, you two belong together, and I mean, and that may sound like some kind of a cliche statement, but it's very true.
Man, play
Some
this track
yeah.
real quick, man. Play this.
Okay,
Play
which
this
one?
thing. This is something that I wrote actually, and I wrote it. I wrote it for Ephraim and Red. You know,
All right.
and it's a tune. It's the first tune on the Black Red Black record,
Okay.
and I had Red sort of help me out. I wanted him to put his own type of harmony on it, but I had it. I wrote it with the cats in mind, like where Ephraim kind of has his breaking point, hitting the higher notes, right? Because I wanted it to feel like he's like he's Like let me give you the name of the song first,
Like
and
he's
then
reaching.
Yeah, read
Yeah.
the name of the song.
Well, I can't read the whole title. It's only showing me part of it. It says, "If I'd known then what I know now, what I knows now, boy, I'd tell." And then I don't have anything else. What's after that?
It's a if I'd known then what I knows now, boy, I tell you what.
Okay.
That's the name of the.
Yeah.
The title's a little long. I couldn't figure out a shorter title, right? But
No, and
the
yeah,
reason why it connected with me and with Ephraim and with in particular, because Red is like a show up and do kind of guy,
yeah,
and Ephraim, my brother, we were always, in encouragement, so I wanted him to always feel that encouragement, and uh, I would talk to him about where he came from musically and where he is now. And it's like, man, all that you have now, you had then. You just didn't know it. You didn't live it. You know what I mean? So when you have that, it's like, wow, if I knew what I knew then, man, I'd be here. You know what I mean? Boy, I tell you what. You know what I mean? That's like the country. You know what I mean?
Oh, I dig it.
So
Yeah.
that was kind of one of the meanings that I had for that.
I love that. And that Ephraim, one of my favorite people in town. What a beautiful cat, beautiful player. Yeah, he belongs very much at the center of the same conversation.
Right on.
I'll roll that one right now. A first cut from Black Red Black, and you can find this on Apple Music, and I'm assuming Spotify and all the places where, sadly, these guys get pennies on the $1,000 bill. That's why the tip buckets are on screen and will stay up. So any love you can share with Brannen and Red tonight is mucho appreciated. So let's listen to this. Great cut.
Yeah, thank you.
I love the sound of that record too, man. It's got a unique, tight kind of sound. You know, it's.
Well,
Where'd you cut that?
Well, that one, actually, Chet Himes recorded that particular track, and we did that at Austin School of Music, maybe, whatever that studio is.
Okay.
And but most of the rest of the record was done at Lambert's in the daytime. Yeah, because
up in the room.
We had a residency there, and our sound man, our brother Daniel Fleming, was Daniel. Daniel, man, is a great guy, and really good engineer, and so he he kind of helped facilitate us, that environment, and or I guess actually Will Bridges, of course, helped facilitate the environment, but Daniel made that sound kind of come together, and I thought it was going to be too roomy, which in some ways it was a little more so than I wanted it to be, but I think he was playing one of the tracks earlier, but this one was done actually in the studio, and I really liked the way it turned out.
Yeah, that's really cool, recording up in a space like that. But you were doing it when the club was closed. Is that when you were recording it? Yeah.
Right. And so we had a good time with that, and had a couple of guests. Shelly Carroll, which is one of the baddest,
terrific.
One of the baddest saxophonists on this side of the galaxy. Was able to join us on a couple tunes, and we were very, very happy about that. And he still remains to be like a good buddy, collaborator to this day, on various things. And and Will was kind of trying to help out a young guitar player at the time to sort of kind of help his career along. And so at first it was like, hey, can this guy play with us? And I was like, yeah, okay. And it's like Gary, so Gary Clark played on the record, right? And I thought it turned out okay, Yeah. But anyway, so that was that record. And ironically, Red and I, we have a lot of stuff between us, but we just haven't put anything out. You know what I mean? So there's some videos that you can see and some different things, but the one strange thing about our playing is it's different every time. So to capture lightning in a bottle in a way is sort of tricky, because every time we play it, it's going to have a little take that's a little different here, a little twist there, a little take. So it's really the only group I've been associated with that doesn't really have, it just can't translate. It doesn't translate the same as being at the show or being in the duo, hearing him and responding to him, like almost any other band I play with. Other bands, we can rehearse and play it on the show, go in the studio, play it exactly like that, or play it similar to that, or even in improvised situations. For some reason, what Red and I have is just, I don't know, I can never really categorize it. I can never really make it so specific that it fits nicely on a record.
When you guys feed off the vibe in the room with real people digging on what you're doing too, I'm sure that's got to be a factor in what it's like. Because I know when I've heard you all down at the gallery, You're
frozen again. Am I frozen?
No, it's me. It's this stupid camera. I don't know what it is. It's got a 30-minute limit, and then it freases. So it's nice.
Okay. Gotta put the quarter in.
Yeah, I got to put ching. Yeah, but that says something, I think, about the about why we're all missing playing live so much right now, right?
Yeah, I'm seeing all the posts. You got Red is watching.
Oh, good. Thank you, Red.
Miss you, Red.
Man, I wish he was on. He's got so much to offer, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got family on here. My cousin Marvin out in Phoenix checking us out. I see some young brothers checking us out. I see my man Kirk Covington. Miss you
Oh,
too.
oh yeah, Kirk.
And a lot of other people are out here checking us out. Thank you all for watching. Really appreciate it. Sorry, Red. Sorry, it's just me and not Red.
Yeah, we miss you, Red. We've been trying to do this for a few weeks, and sadly we waited until Red went to the I guess the headwaters of the internet where they're the weakest. I don't know. Just for
Yeah.
some reason,
What?
he's in a place where he doesn't have much bandwidth. But
Yeah, he just needed to get away for a second, man. I don't blame him, man. He's, what you're doing is a lot of hard work, really. Like, putting together, the mics, the technology to be able to feed that in. Red was doing this at his house where it was like 4 cameras, all the audio,
yeah,
and it was kind of kicking his tail a little bit, but really, man, let's play one more thing, and you can see,
yeah,
his hard work, and then you can
yeah.
you
Some
can
more
judge for
video.
yourself.
I've
Yeah.
got all those. Well, let me. I almost played it before I was supposed to. Let me get back to Red.
Yeah.
That's the. So I've got. Are you seeing the tunes he uploaded?
What do you have?
Let's see. I've got Trouble Man, A Portrait of Jenny, Red
Nice.
Tweed, and Seventh Layer.
Right.
Let's see what else is up there.
Yeah, the seventh. Let's do the seventh layer because
Okay.
it's kind of a little bit of a long joint, but what's beautiful about that is that was that came together with Adam Levy, who Adam's a guitarist who sort of his mark in the world thus far. He's done so much as a songwriter and producer and other things, but he was with Nora Jones for a number of years. And in fact, when I first met him, Nora was his piano player in his band.
Really?
Right? Yeah,
Okay.
it was like Adam and Kenny Wollison on drums and Lee, I forget Lee's last name. I'm sorry, Lee, on bass, and it was at the living room, and I saw them playing, and Nora was like just playing, playing chords. I'm like, oh, okay, checking out, and she hadn't hit yet. This was Adam's band, and then right after that, she like really blew up.
Yeah.
And
I remember that first show of hers on ACL. I remember the first time I saw her.
Yeah, but this was like years before that. So we were,
okay.
I was in New York like 2001, and so she, so I met Adam. And I was just like, dude, man, like I'm really kind of digging where you're coming from. So we kept in touch. He came to Austin, promoting the first record of his, which had Kenny Wollison, I think, on drums, and Larry Goldings on organ. So I was like, yo, man, I said, I got an organ player for you. I said, I got a guy. Let's do the record. Let's do some dates. So we started touring. We did some dates on our own, and then we did some stuff with Charlie Hunter, and and then we recorded this record. But one of the tunes on there that we're gonna play is from that record. It's called The Seventh Layer, and it sounds a little something like this.
So this is the two of you performing The Seventh Layer that you had developed earlier.
Just the two of us, but it was written by Adam, kind of put together by the three of us.
Yeah, cool.
If I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me pull it up but not start it prematurely. Get it back on screen. Here we go. Mm-mm.
No, man.
Oh, that's beautiful. Man, it's like being in church for 15 minutes, you know?
Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, man. Thank you so much for having, the gang of two.
Oh, man, I'm sorry we lost Red, but I appreciate you sticking around. It's been a real pleasure chatting with you, man.
Yeah. Thank you so much, man. Just want to thank you for reaching out to us and, wanting to have us come talk and share some music and some love on your show.
You bet.
And, especially since nobody can play any music right now. But, for those of you who don't know, Scott Lanningham is a bad mofo on the drums and one of my heroes. And I'm thankful that I can call him my friend. And I'm thankful that he calls me his friend.
Absolutely.
And the same thing for Red Young, man. Red has been instrumental on, keeping my family afloat sometimes with gigs here and there and some major tours and some different things like that. And, what would we do without a sense of community, a sense of, how we can take care of each other, take care of the next human, and do our best to represent what's good, So I'm thankful. I'm thankful for this moment. I'm thankful for it all.
Amen. And we're going to be evolving. We are evolving, looking for ways to adapt to what's going on. And I think things like this are important. And I'm hoping that what can happen is as people begin to bring this into their wheelhouse of behaviors, it's like, well, I may not be able to go to a club right now and enjoy these people that I love, but I'm going to tune in any way I can and be a part of their community and keep supporting what they're doing because, when you spoke earlier about listening to me on tape, and then I think about the circle of life of this whole thing. I inspired you, you inspired me, and it just continues. I think that's maybe something to be said about the importance of music for all of us, and why we've got to do whatever we can to keep this train running because it's a place of family. It's a place of that extended global sense of family that we gotta hold on to and cherish for what it truly means to all of us.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely, man.
Well, you hug your family for me.
Yeah, man.
And,
Please do the.
We'll do another. We'll do another one, man. And pretty soon, someone's going to figure out a way to use these tools to play across time and space in real time. And when that happens, it won't be the same as being in the club together. But if we can't get in the club together, it'll be something worth exploring.
Yeah, yeah. Right now, we can just continue to get on the good foot, and understand what this thing is all about. Just re-educate ourselves, reharmonize ourselves, and not really worry about where we're going or where we'll end up. As long as the eyes on the prize of a better humanity, and a more even humanity.
Amen to that.
I think we're gonna be all right.
Thank you for your beautiful spirit, man. Your music and all of it.
Yeah, yeah. Like I always say, there's more love in the world. That's what I believe than that other stuff. So
I'm down with that.
It's some bullshit out there. Excuse me, but
Yep.
we're gonna make it happen.
We are.
It's time. All right.
I'll see you
Scott,
soon, man.
Love you, man.
Love you too. Thank you again.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right.